Hello again, everyone. Edwin Leonard back once again. In this YouTube astrological segment, I'm going to be talking about transit Neptune square, opposition, or in conjunct one's natal north node. Now, when we're talking about transits that involve Neptune, it can be about dreams, fantasies, inspiration, self-sacrifice, also ideals and things that are unrealistic, unrealism. And the thing about this too is that when you have transit Neptune basically making an adverse aspect to one's natal north node, when I say basically, I'm going to elaborate on that. Well, an adverse, squares and oppositions are adverse aspects, of course, in astrology, and the in conjunct, though it's neutral, neutral aspects can have good and bad qualities in them, coupled with the fact that an in conjunct could often require an adjustment or transition. So it's basically an adverse aspect. I see it collectively, basically adverse aspect or transit. And the thing about this is, again, when transit Neptune is basically making an adverse aspect to one's natal north node, well, it may manifest in dreams, fantasies, inspiration, self-sacrifice, ideals, and things that are unrealistic. These things might conflict with your future. You might be looking at this not looking at like this may manifest in really just perhaps even lethargy or just relaxing, not too much sleeping. These things might conflict actually with your future at this time, because it's hard. If you're dominated by rest, relaxation, sleeping, it can be something where it might conflict with your future because you're unable to make any progress if you're just stagnant. Now, the thing about this too is, looking at this is, the North Node is connected with the mission and our purpose, the future mission and purpose. And the mission, that you have, maybe it could be a time where you just lack the inspiration of really, trying to, fulfill your mission at this time. You might be, it could even be involved with matters of altruism or self-sacrificing for others, which is putting where you feel you're directed toward, you might be putting that on hold as a result. And you might not, you might not have an overabundance of inspiration at this time to fulfill the mission and purpose, what you believe it is at this time. Say if the natal north node is in Gemini in the ninth house, as an example, it could be, just developing, diversified viewpoints, or, if Gemini is in North Node, Gemini is in the 10th house, it could be, doing, experiencing, manifold careers, or a career somewhere in communication, or one where you show versatility. It can be something to where, again, the North Node is what we're, directed toward, and sometimes, laziness or lethargy might conflict with moving toward what you feel you're directed toward, moving, trying to do, what you're aspiring, really what you want to aspire to be, and especially during, the second half of one's life, and say like, age 35 and older. And also, the North Node is about, developing the positive attributes of the placement. And it might be where you might be fantasizing more about doing this than actually acting on it at this time. Again, going back to the inspiration element, you might not feel overly inspired to do this at this point in time. You might be, doing things, for the less fortunate, such as the impoverished, the oppressed, the homeless, or the hungry, and that might be conflicting, with you in terms of your development of the positive qualities of your North Node position in your chart. Now, the North Node, is really, has a lot of positive qualities in it, but it can also, have some negative, because the North Node can reflect issues that one may have to address and confront. And the thing about this is, if you're, got, this transit of Neptune, again, basically making an adverse aspect to your natal North Node, well, it might be expressed in, it might be fatigue or tiredness, or you don't really feel like addressing certain issues. If you have the North Node placement, say in your 6th house, or even your first house in your natal chart. It can be, physical related matter, and these things. And this is a time, where you might have to work through some lethargy or through some fatigue in order to go toward, in the direction of the North Node, and the things that I should say, the things you have to address and confront, which may be connected with it at this time. Now, another thing too is that the North Node is about what we're learning and aspiring to be. The ideal is to get away from the South Node. It's not necessarily eradicating the South Node energy completely, but more about emphasizing the North Node energy. And the thing about this is, it might be, where you might be, fantasizing, dreaming more about what you want to aspire to be and what you want to learn to be, rather than actually, doing it at this time. And or there might be some confusion at this time in terms of what you are, aspiring, to be. And if there's any confusion at this time with that, or where what you want to aspire to be seems to not be certain clear, just really, understand your North Node placement, understand, the possibilities that exist with it, because not everybody, has the same North Node placement, is going to go in the same direction. And a lot of times, I mean, the North Node can play some role in where we're going, but remember, the Sun also factors in, because the Sun is about the life, and it can play a role in that life purpose. And the midheaven can often be about our career, etc., etc. So, but anyway, now let's say another thing too is that the North Node, I believe, could be part of the destiny, and what may even be preordained. And the thing about this is, this could be a time where you may not even want, to really think or deal with, things that are, that you might be destined for at this time. You might want to you might feel more like dreaming that away, as opposed to acting on it at this point in time. And the thing is, another way, that this transit, can actually manifest. It can be we're sacrificing, doing things for the less fortunate, or acts of altruism. It might conflict with your purpose at this time. And say, for example, if the North Node is in Aquarius in the 5th house in your natal chart, this can be through group-related, which is Aquarius activities that might lead to greater actual personal popularity, which of course is associated with the 5th house. And another thing too, in some cases, chaotic situations, chaos may challenge you in terms of the development of the positive qualities of the North Node placement in your chart. Now, going back into the example with the North Node in Gemini in the 9th house, it could be having a diversified, which is Gemini, philosophy or belief system. It can be taking manifold courses in college, and college, of course, is connected with the 9th house, and beliefs and philosophies are associated with the 9th house as well. Also, too, in some cases, lethargy, fatigue, tiredness, it might adversely affect you in terms of trying to deal with some issues that may have to be addressed or confronted at this time. Let's say, for example, if the North Node is in Capricorn in the 4th house, it could be like a limiting or depressing, which is Capricorn, or a home situation at this time, or it might be dealing with very cold or ruthless or tyrannical home or family member, or one you're simply close to home with, at this point in time. Now, also too, if you've had these issues previously, especially during this transit, if there's any issues, say with the feet or the toes or the lymphatic system at this time, it might conflict with what you're aspiring and learning to be at this point in time. Hold on a moment, people. Sorry about that, I'm back. But anyway, now let's say, for example, if the North Node is in Virgo in the 8th house in your natal chart, it could be the development of perhaps analytical psychology, being proficient in doing something with analytical psychology, or even analytical astrology. If the natal North Node in Virgo is in the 5th house, as another example, it could be being able to extrapolate sports data, or it might be just dealing with just general intellectual analytical enjoyment or amusement as some examples. And it's just important to remember at this time that it can be a time where you're just very again, fatigue or apathy, lethargy may conflict with what you're trying in terms of developing in connection with the North Node placement. Many of us, when the South Node, of course, reflects where we're comfortable, and it's the comfort zone. It could be where we're naturally proficient in, but the North Node is really what you're supposed to be directed toward. And the bad thing about this transit, again, it's the fact that the tiredness and the fatigue can conflict with what you're trying to move toward at this time. And the danger is to being stuck more in that comfort zone, and where you could actually be very good at, but it's not what you're supposed to be emphasizing, especially when you're talking about the latter part of one's life, and that age, say 35 and older, is when the North Node is supposed to be more accentuated and emphasized. But anyway, people, that'll conclude this YouTube astrological segment. Until next time, people, Edwin Leonard saying stay well.